If you had made a home here, you wouldn't have any neighbours, because nearly every house is empty. There are more than 2,000 developments called ghost estates right across Ireland like this, relics of the property collapse. A year ago, the truth was exposed. The Irish housing boom had been built on sand. A year down the road, and of course it's the International Monetary Fund which is now calling all the shots in Ireland, and so soon the politicians here will be forced into making another almost €4 billion worth of cuts in public spending for the towns and villages across Ireland which have ghost estates like this. That's more or less the same as sticking a knife into the corpse. Keeping the IMF happy has become such a preoccupation for politicians here that there's barely room to consider initiatives for growth, especially outside the capital. A photographer came up with a good idea. He took pictures of the ghost estates and asked architects to offer ideas as to what to do with all that land and property. They all said Ireland could do with inexpensive projects, not for investors, but for the people. So far, it's got nowhere.
Think about these spaces as things like community centres, ethnic markets, public libraries, even an urban trout farm. So think, what I'm getting at here is I want to consider these spaces as something that will have a positive future.
So there's a deficit of hope as well as money here. Any notional ideas of progress get buried under the debt mountain, and the politicians are terrified of losing control entirely to the IMF.
I lived in Africa in the 1980s when quite a number of countries in effect defaulted and came directly under the IMF. The prospect of that, I can tell you, is not very enticing.
There is a theory that says that all this is an opportunity for Ireland to diversify the economy and make a virtue out of a crisis. In places like this, that seems as likely as finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Laurence Lee, Al Jazeera, Central Ireland.